Hey everybody, so this is your Shocking American Family Crimes Unit. The 1990s and early 2000s in the United States had a ton of crazy criminal activity that really changed the way that we view family dynamics and criminals, quite frankly, in the United States. So normally in your groups, you would get a card that has a picture of a person on it, and you would go investigate each of these. Because usually what happens is most of you were not born yet, or you were so young you don't remember it, and so this is all news to you guys. So you will have a 10-point assignment going along with this unit since we're not meeting in face-to-face anymore. So I'm just going to kind of cruise through and tell you about each of these, and then you can go do your assignment. So first one is going to be Ted Kaczynski. He was the Unabomber. You've probably heard about him. His crimes actually started in the 70s, and he would go around to different campuses. He actually was at the U of I as well. And he ended up getting caught because his brother actually suspected that he was the Unabomber and turned him in. His story I don't think is very fascinating. Personally, other people do. Jack Kevorkian was also called Dr. Death. He believed that if you were terminally ill, you should have the right to die. And so he actually was prosecuted for taking the lives of individuals, but those individuals had chosen that they wanted to die. So in the classroom, we have a big conversation about euthanization of humans, animals. You know, if you really have the right to play God. It's it's a heated debate usually. One of the creepier things about him was that he had a van, and he would go around and serve his patients in his van, which kind of puts a creepy factor in it for some people. So Jack Kevorkian was Dr. Death. Jeffrey Dahmer was a very very famous serial killer. He was also a necrophiliac, which means he liked to have sex with dead bodies. And he was a pedophile, which means he liked to have sex with underage children, specifically boys. I remember when he actually was caught, he had body parts in his apartment, and the footage on the news in the mid-90s was them bringing these canisters of body parts down the outside apartment steps. You know how there's metal steps on the side of apartment buildings? And I remember seeing guys in hazmat suits hauling these barrels of body parts down the steps. So he is one of our most infamous serial killers in the United States. He was actually killed by another inmate while he was incarcerated. Amy Fisher was called the Long Island Lolita. She was an underage girl who was having an affair with a married man. His name was Joey Buttafuoco. She wanted him for herself, so she went to his home and rang the doorbell where his wife greeted her. She pretended that her sister was the one having the affair, trying to get the husband to leave, basically, and the wife was not really picking up on what she was saying and was kind of defiant, and Amy ended up shooting her in the head right on her front porch. So Amy ended up going to jail for a few years for shooting Mary Jo Buttafuoco. Joey Buttafuoco ended up incarcerated for having sex with a minor. Look their story up. It turned into all kinds of disgustingness, exploiting themselves in the tabloids, all kinds of things. But this was a really big deal because she was an underage girl having an affair with a married man who then shot his wife right in the head in front of their suburban home. O.J. Simpson's usually one that people have heard of. And Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend were both murdered. O.J. was acquitted of the crime. The thing was, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit or something like that. But this also brought domestic violence front and center to the public because he had abused her in the past. There was pictures and footage from police, phone calls and recordings. This also kind of became a big deal because it was an interracial couple and also an extremely famous sports player. O.J. was a football player, so you can look them up a little more. Susan Smith actually drowned her children in her car. She pretended for a long time that the car had been stolen by a black man, and she actually drove the car into a lake and drowned her own children. This brought front and center the crimes that women will commit against their own children, and also the link to possible postpartum depression. So she's one of those disturbing stories. There's more than one. This one's one of my personal favorites. We talk about it in my sex class quite a bit. Mary Kay Letourneau was a school teacher. She was married with children at the time that she started having an affair with her 6th grade student. She ended up then going to jail for having sex with a minor, losing her teaching license, getting pregnant by him, having his child, getting out of jail, having another child with him, going back to jail. It's a very long story. You can click the link for a little update from Barbara Walters about them. But this was a very interesting crime because it brought sex offenders in schools front and center, and she was the most kind, sweet-looking young woman married with kids while having sex with a sixth grader. So definitely look more into their story. This is Timothy McVeigh. He was an Oklahoma City bomber, former U.S. military man. You've probably seen pictures of the side of the building that was blown up in Oklahoma City. It also had a child care facility in it. Differences in what you read. Some say he knew there was a lot of kids in the building and he picked it on purpose. Others say he didn't know. But this is just evidence that not everyone who serves in our military stays supportive of American beliefs, and he actually was one of the largest bombings that has taken place in the United States. JonBenet Ramsey was murdered inside her home about 20 years ago. For a long time, they thought the parents did it. They also thought that the brother did it. In this picture, she's 6 years old. She was a child model. This brought front and center, one, crimes within the home and family, and two, kind of threw child models into the spotlight. We have shows that toddlers and tiaras and all that stuff, pageant life, into the spotlight during this time. So her case is interesting. The ransom note was written on paper from inside the home, and there's all kinds of details surrounding that, but I believe that it is still unsolved. Columbine High School shooting. This was the first really big, well-known school shooting in the United States. Took place on April 20th, 1999. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold went into Columbine High School the weekend after prom, and I'm sure you've heard all about this as you've been growing up. The ways that public schools handle security definitely changed from when I was in school compared to when most of you were in school because of this actual shooting. I do talk quite a bit in class about his mother, Dylan Klebold's mother. Her name is Sue. She's actually wrote a book about what it's like to be the mother of the Columbine killer. And if you like to read, I strongly suggest you read her book. And she also has a phenomenal TED Talk about depression and suicide in teenagers. And again, what it's like to be the mom of a killer. Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped. You've probably heard of her in the news. She's an advocate now and speaks out against sex crimes and kidnappings. She lived in a tent with a guy and the guy's girlfriend or wife or something for quite a long time. She actually got discovered when they had her somewhere in public and somebody recognized her and turned them in. She was actually kidnapped out of her own bedroom with her sister in the room at home. So this really started to alarm people that kids aren't just getting nabbed in the mall or on the street. They're getting stolen right out of their bedrooms when they're sleeping in their own homes. Scott and Lacey Peterson. Basically, Scott Peterson killed his wife, Lacey Peterson, who was extremely pregnant at the time. The baby washed up on one part of the shore, and her body washed up on another part of the shore a few days apart. We see a lot of crimes, quite frankly. If you watch Dateline, very similar to this. But this one was particularly alarming because she was extremely pregnant, which made it a bigger deal in the media as well. People said later that they saw his boat going out. They saw something very large tarped within the boat, and no one said anything. He also had a girlfriend at the time. I think her name was Amber Fry, and she actually helped record for the police and get him turned in. Casey Anthony, she was just back in the news as well. She was acquitted of, however, more than likely did kill her daughter. The mother even said that the trunk of her car smelled like a dead body. The little girl was missing for a month, but while she was missing, Casey was out partying. She, like I said, was acquitted. She was just back in the news lately for having another kid with a man who, I can't remember if he was a lawyer or a detective from her original case. So that's kind of weird. John and Lorena Bobbitt, you may have heard of this one too. She actually cut off his penis. If you haven't heard of it, you should definitely look it up. So they were married, and she was accusing him of abuse. And while he lay sleeping one night, she literally cut off his penis and then went for a drive in her car and threw it out the window. Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. This would have been two very talented figure skaters. Tanya Harding and her boyfriend actually didn't want Nancy Kerrigan to win the Olympics or any other competition, so they clubbed her in the knee, kind of taking her out of competition for a while. That was a big, big case if you don't remember that one. Rodney King beating. We've seen a lot of police brutalities videos surface lately because of the internet and social media, but his was the first one to really be front and center when the white officers were acquitted of this in Los Angeles. Riots took out, the city burnt down parts of it, a lot of looting going on. So this became the biggest case, I would say, front and center for police brutality in the United States. David Koresh, Waco, Texas, mid-90s, I believe. He basically was a cult leader, mass suicide, mass murder, depending on how you want to put it. That's when they put their building on fire. Check him out as well if you're into cults and you want something a little newer than Jonestown or Heaven's Gate to look into. Andrea Yates was another one of those women that took her own children's lives. These 4 boys were actually at home with their mother, where they were called down the hallway one by one into the bathroom where she drowned them each individually. She ended up incarcerated. I believe the husband divorced her after a while. She said she had voices that told her to do these things, and again, this put postpartum psychosis in the limelight front and center as the media. The West Memphis 3 were 3 boys that were convicted and incarcerated for murder of, I think it was 1 little boy, it could have been 2, I don't remember exactly, but they were falsely accused, and there's a big fight to get them out of jail. Johnny Depp has been behind the push to get them out. This was a time period where if you had skulls on your walls and you wore a black trench coat and you listened to heavy metal music and stuff about Satan, that basically people scrutinized you as being a killer. So Damien, Jesse, and Charles were falsely accused. Okay, so you're going to have an assignment for something with this. I haven't figured it out just yet, but that will be your, I think your last 10-point assignment. It'll either be number 9 or number 10. I haven't decided.